You've been told a lie so early, so often, that it no longer sounds like a lie, it sounds like reality. You were taught that poverty is about money, that power belongs to those who were lucky, connected, or born into advantage, and that your role is to endure, to be patient, to stay humble, and to wait your turn. Machiavelli would have recognized this immediately, not as wisdom, but as conditioning. Because the most efficient way to rule people is not through force, but through belief. When a man believes he is poor in essence, not circumstance, he will police himself long before anyone needs to control him. The truth is uncomfortable, which is why it's rarely spoken plainly. Poverty begins in the mind before it ever appears in the bank account. Long before you lack resources, you lack permission in your own head. Permission to take space, permission to prioritize yourself, permission to think strategically instead of morally. Once that permission is removed, the chains no longer need to be visible. You will obey voluntarily. You will call it virtue. You will call it humility, and you will defend it as identity. Machiavelli understood something modern culture desperately tries to bury. People are not equal in perception, only in law. And perception governs reality far more than fairness ever will. The man who sees himself as lesser moves differently. He speaks differently. He hesitates where others advance. He explains himself where others assume authority. He asks where others decide. And the world responds accordingly, not out of cruelty, but out of instinct. Power recognizes power. Submission invites dominance. You were trained to fear ambition before you were ever taught how to wield it. Notice how quickly society praises obedience and punishes self-direction. The quiet worker is called good. The compliant man is called reliable. The one who questions is called difficult. The one who refuses to kneel emotionally is labeled arrogant. This is not accidental. Systems do not reward people who outgrow them. They reward people who reinforce them. A slave mindset is not loud. It doesn't scream defeat. It whispers limitations. It sounds like realism. That's not for people like me. I should be grateful for what I have. I don't want to seem selfish. I'll wait until I'm ready. Each of these thoughts feels responsible. Each one quietly delays power. Machiavelli warned that men are ruled not by force, but by necessity and fear. And nothing creates fear like the belief that you cannot survive without approval. Power begins when that belief collapses. A powerful man does not wait for permission to think independently. He does not ask society to confirm his worth before acting. He moves as if his time is valuable because he has decided it is. This decision is invisible, but its effects are not. When you stop thinking like someone who must be chosen and start thinking like someone who chooses, your posture changes, your speech slows, your reactions become deliberate. You stop volunteering your loyalty before it's earned, and people feel this shift immediately, even if they can't articulate why. The poor mindset obsesses over fairness. The power mindset obsesses over leverage. One asks, is this right? The other asks, does this work? This does not make power immoral. It makes it effective. Morality without strength is decoration. Machiavelli never argued against virtue. He argued against naivete. He understood that good intentions do not protect you from manipulation. Awareness does. Look closely at how poverty thinking keeps you emotionally exposed. When someone disrespects you, you rush to explain. When someone questions you, you rush to justify. When someone ignores you, you chase clarity. These are not signs of decency. They are signs of dependency. You are seeking validation from the very people testing your boundaries, and every time you do, you confirm their dominance over the frame. The powerful do not rush to be understood. They allow misunderstanding to exist because they know clarity is a privilege, not a right. When you over-explain, you reveal your need for acceptance. When you remain calm and reserved, you project self-sufficiency. and self-sufficiency, psychological or material, is always intimidating. The lie you were told is that confidence comes after success. In reality, success follows perceived confidence. People do not reward effort, they reward certainty. This is why two men with identical skills can receive radically different outcomes. One presents himself as provisional, the other presents himself as inevitable. The world sides with inevitability. Thinking like a slave means believing you must earn respect through suffering. Thinking like a strategist means understanding that respect is granted to those who appear unshaken by scarcity. This is why some men rise from nothing repeatedly, while others collapse the moment comfort disappears. One sees loss as information, the other sees it as identity. Machiavelli warned rulers never to appear weak, even when circumstances were unfavorable, not because weakness is shameful, but because it invites attack. In human dynamics, vulnerability without leverage is not bravery, it is exposure. The world does not protect exposed men, it tests them. This does not mean lying about your circumstances, it means refusing to internalize them. There is a difference between having nothing and believing you are nothing. One is temporary, the other is fatal. A slave mindset treats money as salvation. A power mindset treats money as a tool. This is why desperate men chase income without developing authority, while powerful men develop authority and attract income as a consequence. Authority is psychological gravity. It pulls resources toward it naturally. Desperation repels them. Watch how men with a slave mindset broadcast their struggle, hoping visibility will produce relief. They speak openly about their stress, their fears, their uncertainty. They believe transparency creates connection. Machiavelli would call this reckless, because information is currency, and once you give it away freely, you no longer control the exchange. Powerful men compartmentalize. They do not deny hardship, but they do not leak it. They handle pressure privately and present stability publicly, not to deceive, but to protect their position. Stability is influence. Chaos is disqualification. Thinking like a slave means outsourcing decision-making. You look for consensus, you poll opinions, you fear being wrong more than being ineffective. The powerful understand that decisiveness beats correctness in most situations. A wrong decision made confidently often produces better outcomes than the right decision made hesitantly, because momentum creates options, hesitation closes them. Machiavelli observed that fortune favors those who act boldly, not those who wait for certainty. The man who waits for perfect conditions is already conquered by fear. The man who moves with incomplete information trains himself to adapt. Adaptability is power. Another mark of poverty thinking is emotional reactivity. You feel everything immediately. You respond to insults, delays, and setbacks as personal attacks. This keeps you busy defending your ego instead of advancing your position. The powerful conserve emotional energy. They respond selectively. They understand that not every provocation deserves acknowledgement. Silence, when controlled, is dominance. To think like a slave is to believe that life is happening to you. To think like a ruler is to believe life is something you shape, even under constraint. This shift does not require money, it requires discipline. Discipline over speech, discipline over emotion, discipline over desire. Desire is the most effective leash ever invented. When you need approval, affection, comfort, or reassurance, you can be led anywhere. The powerful reduce their dependencies intentionally. They enjoy pleasure, but they do not need it. They value connection, but they do not rely on it. They want success, but they are not destroyed without it. This emotional independence is mistaken for coldness by those who cannot achieve it. A man who needs nothing is extremely difficult to control. This is why systems encourage constant wanting. Want more, feel behind, compare yourself endlessly.
Anxiety keeps you compliant. Contentment without submission is dangerous. Thinking like a slave means believing rules apply equally in practice. They do not. Rules are enforced differently based on perceived power. The man who understands this does not complain about unfairness. He studies how exceptions are made. He positions himself closer to the exception than the rule. Machiavelli did not teach men to be cruel. He taught them to be realistic. Realism is not pessimism. It is clarity without illusion. Illusion is expensive. It costs opportunity, leverage, and time. If you want to stop being poor in mind, you must stop narrating your struggle as destiny, stop romanticizing endurance, stop waiting to be rescued by circumstances. Power is built quietly, internally, long before it becomes.
This transformation is uncomfortable because it requires you to abandon the identity that kept you safe. Victimhood offers comfort. Responsibility offers power. One gives sympathy, the other gives results. The moment you stop seeing yourself as someone who must prove worth and start seeing yourself as someone who manages perception, your position changes. You speak less, you observe more. You choose your battles, you protect your energy, you move deliberately. Machiavelli would tell you this plainly. The world does not reward those who suffer correctly. It rewards those who understand how power works and refuse to apologize for playing the game intelligently. You are not poor because you lack money. You are poor if you believe your circumstances define your ceiling. The moment you reject that belief, you are no longer a slave. You are a strategist in temporary constraint. And strategists always find a way forward. If this message challenged the way you see yourself, that's intentional. Power does not arrive as comfort, it arrives as clarity. If you want more of this kind of thinking, support the channel by liking the video, sharing it with someone still trapped in the wrong mindset, and subscribing so you don't miss what comes next. The difference between obedience and authority begins with what you allow yourself to believe. If this made you uncomfortable, good. Comfort is where power goes to die. Stay here long enough and you'll stop recognizing the version of yourself that used to ask for permission. Subscribe, not for motivation, but so you don't slide back into the mindset that kept you weak.